For the final time of the 2022-23 season, your Washington Wizards hosting the Houston Rockets. It was all about the young guys today, as it has been down the backstretch of this season, looking to develop and get ready for next year, including summer activities. But when it's all said and done, trying to find out a win. The final score, 114-109. Washington taking the loss to the Houston Rockets. Welcome in for the final time this year to Wizards Postgame Live. Rather somber moment, single tear. No, we're good though. We're good. You know why? Because as I told you when we were watching the game,
yes.
This is Christy Winters-Scott, if you didn't already know.
Hello.
What did I say? I said this is not the end.
I know.
This is the very beginning of the future is right now, from this moment. So I just want a couple quick thoughts about what you saw from the game, especially when you guys like Xavier Cooks gave you a 10 and 14 double-double.
Right.
Shout out to the X-Men. Jordan Goodwin goes off for 22 points. Corey Kispert was like, I'm doing my work early and I'm going to go take a rest. What did you see today?
I saw toughness. I thought that Washington did a fantastic job. To start the game, they had to recalibrate, came out of the gates a little bit slow, did the same thing at the beginning of the second half, a 23-9 run by Houston, but they never quit. They continued to fight. And you see players like Xavier Cooks, who had back-to-back double-doubles now with those 14 boards today and the 10 points. But I just like the consistency of the effort, okay? I love that Jordan Goodwin had his career high today with 20 points. He was getting downhill, staying aggressive. You know what he's going to do on defense, but offensively, I thought he really gave Washington a strong charge, 8 of 13 from the floor for Goody. He was knocking them in from the outside as well. So what I saw was a strong effort. What I saw was mental toughness, and that's what you wanted to see as the Wizards close out the season.
Indeed, Christy, I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and bring in Chris and Drew for the final time of us doing this here with this season. Guys, great call. Thank you both for the shout-outs during the game. Chris, I appreciate that as always. Always a class act with you two. But I want to look back at this game quickly.
At least one of us.
Uh-oh.
We ain't gonna say no names.
Don't let
about
him do
nobody.
it, Drew.
Shout out to Chris
I'm
Miller.
already. I got a 5 p.m. flight.
So let's do a minute-by-minute breakdown and recap of the entire night, starting with tonight. No, how about this, Drew? This one will make you smile. Fly Guy Q. What's up with Quentin Jackson and just deciding that tonight was, or this afternoon was the afternoon to showcase his high-flying skills?
Well, I kept telling Chris and everybody, I see something in this young man. I don't know what it is, but I know he's passing all the vitals. He's athletic, he's explosive, and he wants the action. He wants the fade and the smoke. And unfortunately, his first couple tries trying to dunk and catch a body were unsuccessful. But tonight, that was not the question. I mean, he was throwing it down, lob after lob. I mean, halfway windmill one. I mean, he was a human highlight film at his best tonight. And this is the explosive plays I'm talking about right here. That's what you don't see that too often with a guy 6'4", 174 pounds, and his ability to get contact and finish at the rim. So I loved what I saw from Quentin Jackson, and hopefully he's here for years to come.
Quentin Jackson up there kissing the sky like Daniel Gafford. I love it. The athleticism was on full display. These young players, I mean, Washington only had 8 players available tonight, and all these young kids got an opportunity to go out and compete. And coming away with a loss to the Rockets, I think now you can go into the offseason for a lot of these young players. And I really appreciate Amber Nichols joining Drew and I up here in the booth to really kind of explain what the whole year was like and just seeing the growth of these young players incrementally, and then obviously getting the opportunity towards the end of this season being able to be up here at the NBA level. So I think all of them made strides. And Drew mentioned this, while Quentin Jackson is intriguing to you, Jay Huff to me is somebody I want to keep my eye on in the offseason. I'm really curious because there's something that's happening in the NBA and I don't hear anybody talking about it. Bigs are back. Remember how it was guards.
Yes, sir.
I feel like now we're starting to see some shot blockers, more than one on teams, and size. And for Huff's ability to kind of do a little bit of everything out there, you put him next to a Porzingis and a Gafford. Now you're looking at 3 bigs going into next season going, it could be interesting.
It's one of these moments, Chris, you kind of rub your hands together like I see something cooking.
Christy, I know you can appreciate that. Finally, this is not just a guard league. We're now starting to see the bigs are back. You know how much I love 80s and 90s basketball.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You know what I want to do, guys, since we're looking back over the season, I want to know what some of your best moments are. Christy, you go first. What was one of your favorite moments this season?
I'll say back at the Sacramento game about a month and a half ago where Monte Morris was pushing the ball down the court, and then he found his childhood friend, Kyle Kuzma, in transition. Now, it has layers to it because they were in second grade classroom together. They played 2K as each other. They developed players as each other when they were in middle school, high school. So to see them connect on this play, I mean, it's bigger than basketball, and the layers of that moment to me were so much fun to watch. And just the reaction, too. I mean, they were loving that moment, and they were 7 or 8 years old in that moment once again.
Living the childhood dream.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Drew, that was Christy's. What say you, one of your favorite moments of this season?
I would say the most mentally tough win of the season was right before the All-Star break in Minnesota, being down 20 points and could have sent it in. Could have been calling their travel agents, getting the plane ready to head to Cancun, but that was not the case. Second half, they came out like gangbusters. Kyle Kuzma had 30-plus points. I think that was a telling fact that this team and what they were capable of doing post-break, but unfortunately, that did not happen.
Chris, when you
here it is right here.
I was going to say, run that, Drew.
This is the game right here. I mean, this is probably my favorite moment from a team perspective instead of an individual aspect. And it took a village to get this win. I mean, I've been there before. The night or the game before All-Star break, like I said, your mind is already on the beach with a pina colada, and that was not the intentions of this group. So that was a big win there in Minnesota.
Yeah, you got to think about that win, too. Kuzma couldn't make a shot.
Right.
And you remember the three he made actually put them up. And then Bradley Beal kind of closed the show, so you saw everybody kind of do their thing. Me, the best moment, and I still look at it to this day wondering how in the hell did he do this? Daniel Gafford in this building against the Los Angeles Lakers, catching that lob from Corey Kispert. And I think the play-by-play announcer said, how did he do that? I still don't know how he did that. Look how far he had to go back. What'd you say, your rotator cuff, Christy?
My rotator cuff is,
Yeah, I don't know how Gaff did that. Amazing play there and got the crowd off their feet.
Well, you got to thank Corey on this for throwing a terrible pass.
Right.
So, hey, sometimes the worst pass makes the best lobs, and it did. So that was an unbelievable dunk.
I absolutely love that we were able to share these moments again. Some of those that, for us, we were in the arena on some of those plays, and obviously you guys covered all 82 home and away. With that in mind, Chris and Drew, I kind of want your assessment on this season. I heard you say some of the things during the broadcast, but here on the post game, it's really an open forum for you guys to really share. What do you think that the Wizards could improve on? What do you think was responsible for us not crossing that threshold into the postseason? And the most important one, what do you think is the most valuable thing or the highest priority looking into the offseason for Washington?
All right, first this season, my biggest priority and goal was for them to be healthy. That didn't happen. That didn't occur when you talk about the big three, primarily those three guys being able to play together. What is it, 30-plus games? That was it. So you didn't see that. Now, going into this summer, you have a lot of business decisions to make. Porzingis, he's going to opt out. Kuzma, he's going to opt out. He's making $12 million, $13 million this year. He's going to double that on the free agent market. So you're going to have your hands tied on if you're going to make a play on trying to keep these guys within the organization or move forward. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ted and Tommy, when they get down together in those war rooms, to see what's actually going to transpire and go forward for the future.
I'll be brief. As I look at the finished season with the record, 35-47 is not going to get it done. I think there need to be some real, honest, serious conversations that have to be made this offseason about improving this basketball team. Nobody thought 35 wins. This needed to be a more improved team, and I will not use injuries because the Wizards weren't even middle of the pack in terms of man games lost. That's an easy way to say we had a bad season because of the inability of having Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis. They did play 35 games together, and I think they went 16-19. So is that a large enough sample size to say, hey, let's run this back with these three, and then let's get this draft pick, and then what happens in free agency? But this was a disappointing year, no question about it. But I will say that there was some moments here where you saw these young players kind of step out and really develop. And if you're going to have a disappointing season, you might as well put your young players out there, I guess, to see what they can do. But 35-47, for me, We got to do better.
Indeed, Chris. As a matter of fact, to that point, I spoke to GM Tommy Shepard a couple of games ago against Miami, as a matter of fact. We ran that piece during pregame, and we'll run it here again, Wizards fans, on postgame live so you can hear directly from the GM his thoughts about everything that Chris addressed, and I appreciate you both for it. Guys, before I let you go, you know we do this every time at the end of the year. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Guys.
Hey, Cancun is the new Tulum now. We're going to Tulum now. Just about 2 hours south of Cancun. We fly into Cancun, we drive to Tulum. That's where we at now.
You know what? Before I send you guys away, I can just say this. Chris, it makes me so happy that this year ended without me handing you a trophy. So you are my friend. Love you to death, brother.
What trophy?
See, here we go again. It never stops. It never ends.
No, I don't know. What trophy were you talking about?
What trophy? What happened last year at the end of the season? I know nothing of what you speak of. Nothing about a prediction.
Oh.
That thing, see?
Y'all making me nervous now. You know I got a Delta flight.
No, I don't want him to lose his flight. I'll just go like this.
Hey, but you know what Delta stands for?
What?
Don't ever leave the airport.
Wow.
You got that?
And with that, goodbye, guys. Enjoy your summer.
We'll see y'all
travels,
next
Drew.
season. Chris and Drew,
Bye, honey.
always a pleasure, always a treat. I can never get enough of these two. I never get enough of those two. I love it. They bust us up every day.
I'm Googling
and Chris
it.
knew I had to set it up to bring up that
Googleable.
trophy with the thumb. The trophy with the thumb, Christy.
Oh, my
All right,
God.
let me get back into my professional fare.
I'm Googling Tulum, by the way.
Yeah, Tulum that's where it's at. I got other places to go. But let's talk about this upcoming for you.
Yes.
We're looking at youth development. We're looking at guys like Quentin Jackson taking huge steps,
Yes.
Jordan Goodwin taking huge steps. Of the young guys, who do you think took the biggest step forward in their game? And that's all things considered.
All things considered, I'm going to say Johnny Davis.
Ooh, okay.
I think Johnny Davis took a huge step, especially down the stretch of the regular season. I thought he was healthy. He wasn't healthy at the beginning of the year, and I don't think a lot of people knew that. They were just like, oh, here's his name, and he's a young guy. Let's see if he can be that same dude he was at Wisconsin. And it wasn't necessarily so, and it's a process. So you have to give him grace in the process, and I think what you saw was him giving himself the grace to come on board and really get comfortable down the stretch of the regular season. So I'm going to go with Johnny Davis as having a huge upside for next year and years to come. But I thought that he really showed confidence because of his work ethic, and his process was just to stay with it, right? It's not going to happen just because you want it to happen. It's going to happen because you put the work in. So he put the work in, and I think what Washington Wizards fans and his teammates and coaches, they all saw the product of the after-hours work, the extra reps, the extra work that he put in before and after practices with coaches. So then it all came to fruition, and then you saw the confidence from putting in that work, and that's where the confidence comes from. It doesn't come from the coaches saying, hey, you can do this. Although that helps, it doesn't help you to have your teammates say, hey, you got this on the next play. You have to look yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, you got to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, you got to test yourself to what you know you can do.
Yep.
And it's because of the hard work that he put in that we were able to see the fruits of that labor. And I think that's just going to just exponentially grow in him. And next year and the years to come, it's going to be exciting to watch.
They don't drop you at the top of the mountain. You got to climb your way up.
You got to fight for it.
One step at a time, and that's what Johnny does.
Yeah,
and, I know my producer, Zach, really wishes that Johnny would have gotten that one more basketball. We'll talk about that later on in our bold prediction. Let's bring in Megan McPeak for the final time this season. Megan, here we are in postseason postgame of all things. So just looking back over the year, we talked about some of our favorite moments, but what is an overarching lesson to be learned from this year that we know we can apply for next season?
I think patience is the biggest one, and it kind of ties into what Christy was just talking about with Johnny Davis. Having patience and giving yourself grace. And I thought, as Chris mentioned, injuries played a huge role in this season, but that's still not an excuse. And I think that there were times where these guys gave themselves grace, they were patient, and they still weathered the storm. So for me, I think you look at this entire season, again, it was not the finish that anybody wanted from top to bottom. It was not the expectation. It was not where they wanted to be. And Wes said that to me pregame, in his pregame presser. But at the end of the day, they have gotten through the 82-game gauntlet, and they did it with grace. They did it with patience. They had great moments. They had not so great moments, as we all witnessed, and they had some medium moments. And I think if you take the totality of this season and you look at the good moments you had, You look at the moments that were not so good and what you can learn from those moments to go into this offseason. But as Chris and Drew mentioned, there's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of conversations that have to be had. A lot of very hard conversations that have to be had by both sides along all different, from ownership to front office to players. Hard conversations can give clarity, they can give grace, they can give patience, but at the end of the day, this organization has to do what is best for them moving forward. And I think they learned a lot from this season with the ebbs and flows and everything that transpired and went on with what they can do going into the offseason and the decisions that have to be made and the conversations that have to be had.
Indeed, Megan. I know often at times we use the old cliche, the best ability in sports is availability. I'm moving that across. The best ability is accountability. That's what we do around here. So thank you for that breakdown. Speaking of which, on the other side of the break, I had a conversation with GM Tommy Shepard about the present and future of this Washington Wizards franchise. You don't want to miss it. It's coming up on the other side right here on NBC Sports Washington. GM Tommy Shepard.